Hi, Sarah. After our amazing dinner, I wanted to create this slideshow as soon as possible so that I could get some feedback from you concerning how you feel about the way this progresses, things you want me to add, subtract, change, maybe pictures, what have you. So we'll just go ahead go through this. Clearly, I won't be speaking over the top of this. This is just for your viewing pleasure so that you understand how we will be teaching this and using the homework that you've given by saying, now that you've read queering masculinities, create your definitions of queer femininity, and having them use their definitions for these 10 photographs. So I guess I'll just start it off. So queer representations of femininity, go right into the pictures immediately and start with this is Meridian, and I'm going to try not to talk about the individuals as much as possible. I really want them just based off of appearance and off of their definitions and of stereotypes, how they are able to classify these individuals. So Meridian first, then to Tyler, Alyssa, Kelly, Sarah, and I'm going to take ample time here so that they're able to see these all. Nicole, Morrow, Beth, Tara, and then Steph. So they should now have, for these 10 individuals, I'm going to tell them to write down their name, and then, out of their list of their definitions, which one do they fall into? So each one of their definitions, they should have like an encapsulating word. So just the quickest way that they can describe or define them through what's going on. I imagine it'll be slow at first, and we'll start just popping through the last half of the 10. But then to take a look at their continuum and see where they're going to fall within this. Like, are they really queer, kind of queer, somewhat queer, moderately queer, sometimes queer? So this slide allows us to take a look at all of the female-bodied individuals collectively. So you can kind of visually compare at once Steph, who's in the upper right-hand corner, with Meridian in the upper left-hand corner, to Kelly in the bottom left, kind of figure out, just visually, with your definitions, how they fall on this continuum. So this one I imagine will be up for quite a while. I'll get feedback from a few of the individuals, where they have fallen on this continuum, because I think everyone's going to have different definitions and different concepts of what they're seeing as queer, and this essentially will wrap it up, but I wanted to take it a step further and show them that queer doesn't necessarily mean that it's a sexual identity or a gender identity. So then this branches off into a second part, and we start playing the game of, okay, so who does not identify as queer? Just by looking at these pictures and forcing these stereotypes or perceived expectations or perceived performances of this gender or this sexuality, who does or doesn't fall on it. So one by one, I will just say, oh, okay, I'll give you another hint. Oh, doesn't look like Meridian is not on the queer continuum. Meridian is on the queer continuum. Meridian identifies as queer. Oh, Morrow identifies as queer. Oh, Tyler identifies as queer. Beth identifies as queer. Who was that next one that just popped away? Maybe I didn't do it right. Oh, Nicole identifies as queer. Alyssa identifies as queer. Kelly. So then that leaves us left with Tara and Steph, and they both self-identify as lesbian. And I really tried to scour Facebook to try to find these really queer images of them, like Tara's wearing a button-down shirt and a vest, things that we typically ascribe to a male-bodied individual. Steph, even on this Facebook post, she wrote, look at how butch I look, but do you like my new haircut? I look so butch in this pink room. But there she is, looking butch and having tattoos. That doesn't necessarily mean that you can fall on this queer continuum and identify as queer. So looking at them all together with, talking about sexuality in the first one, then we'll talk about gender in this one. And so with gender, you can still fall on the queer continuum and not identify as gender neutral or across the binary. So in talking about pronouns and how these all tie in with each other, Meridian uses they, them, and their. Tyler uses she and her. Alyssa, she and her. Sarah uses they, them, and their, and also goes by William, using he and him pronouns. Steph uses she and her. Kelly uses they, them, and their. Nicole uses she and her. Maro, they, them, and their. Beth, she and her. And Tara, she and her. So this just helps to illuminate the point that you cannot just assume that it's always best to ask someone their pronouns, especially, what may be somewhat obvious to a somewhat trained eye, that Meridian or Sarah, William, or Maro would use they, them, and their. People like Kelly are constantly misgendered, or there's always this perceived gender, and I try to find this very hyper feminine, stereotypical feminine picture of Kelly with the earrings and a low-cut blouse, accentuating female anatomy with the breasts with these secondary female characteristics. That you have to ask, you have to understand that there's a layer underneath everything, that the performance of gender doesn't necessarily mean that you are ascribing to that gender, or a genderless, post-gender reality really is where we're going for. So that concludes what I have so far. Let me know what you think. Questions, comments, concerns. We have 2 weeks to turn this around. Make it awesome. And that's it.